After searching the Dreary, both in his human form and as a bat, and getting nowhere, Matthew asked his aunt with whom he lived about the beautiful swamp girl, and she immediately pointed him in the right direction. Matthew didn't know what he would do without his Aunt Hestia. She was the only aunt out of all of his many aunts who responded to the letters that he sent between humiliations and beatings at his boarding school. He often thought about the day she rescued him. Charging into his Latin class with her skirts blowing black, smacking her horsewhip down on the desks as she passed by, calling the other boys such vulgar names that it made his ears turn red and hot. He didn't bother to pack his belongings, not even his beloved books that day. He just held his aunt's hand and was led straight out of hell. She was his angel, a black-bonneted, fire-breathing, whip-happy angel, and he loved her for it. Surprisingly, she also made a good housemate. For the most part, she left him alone, which he appreciated. She never asked why he'd been so badly bullied at boarding school, or why he read poetry, especially when it often brought on cursing fits and crying jags that lasted several hours. She never made unsolicited suggestions as to how he could be more like other boys his age, or encouraged sports, or complained about his sickly complexion. She never commented on the blood that dried in the corners of his mouth, or make subtle innuendos that he was to blame for all of the missing cats in the village. And in return, Matthew didn't ask her questions about her nefarious activities either. Matthew loitered outside the marsh house for several days, which provided much-needed entertainment for the three sisters and the one murderous maid inside. By then, Audrey had recited the story of her vampire encounter so many times to her family that it had begun to lose its luster. Had Audrey's sisters not witnessed Matthew for themselves, stumbling about in the swamp, dropping his poetry book in the muck and talking to himself, they would have presumed Audrey exaggerated the vampire's shortcomings. As they stared at him through Marsh House's lime and lichen-covered windows, each sister tried to sort out ways to fix Matthew and make him a more palatable suitor for Audrey. Muriel was certain that if he parted his hair and grew a little beard, it would strengthen his jawline, while Vera felt that a much more significant overhaul was needed, one that involved a physician's expertise. Morg just got down to business and sewed him a new pair of trousers and cape that were significantly more flattering to his figure and left them on the front porch for him. They watched as he crept up the steps, snatched the clothing, and disappeared behind a tree for much longer than necessary to change an outfit. When he finally emerged, the sisters let out a collective sigh of relief, for the change in clothing was a striking and almost dazzling improvement. Not only did it improve his physique, it seemed to change him into a completely different vampire, one with much better hair and a much better jawline. It was decided right there and then that they would invite Matthew in for a visit.